What's up, everybody, and welcome to another segment of Web3 Comic-Con. Got a quick question for you. Have you ever wondered how a strong community really can amplify the reach and impact of artists in the Web3 space? Well, what if we show you how this is being achieved right now, today, right? And I'm very excited to introduce Caitlin and Shae from Candy Digital. What's up, guys? How are you doing? Welcome to Web3 Comic-Con.
Hi, Todd. Thanks for having us. And thank you all for joining us today. We're really excited to chat about some of our work.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So before we jump into some of the questions, we have a lot of people in the audience, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of builders, a lot of people who are brand new to Web3 are watching this. So for those who may not be familiar with you or your work, may not be familiar with Palm NFT or Candy Digital, can you give a brief background of the company and why cultivating an engaged community is so important to you?
Oh. Shae, why don't you kick us off? Yeah.
Sure. I'll give a quick intro of myself and what I do and my role in this whole Palm NFT Studio and Candy Digital. I'm the marketing director at Candy Digital, where I lead the development and execution of go-to-market strategies and promotional campaigns for the DC NFT marketplace, from orchestrating the weekly DC3 or DC collectible comics drops to crafting comms for various DC initiatives and projects, and of course, my personal favorite, engaging with community members through Twitter Spaces and Discord stages. I take care of all marketing efforts for both DC and Palm Garden. And throughout my time here at Palm NFT Studio and Candy Digital, I feel very fortunate that I get to work with some very talented and amazing colleagues like Caitlin and so many others on the team. I get to be part of crafting narratives that really have captivated our community members and has really transformed how brands like DC engages with them. For me, as far as why the community is so important, having shifted my approach from Web2 to Web3 marketing, I'm now so much more anchored in thinking about our community first. Marketing in Web3 is very different. It's all about transparency, the feedback loop, and creating a more direct and engaging interaction with your community, and very frequently. Palm NFT Studio and Candy Digital, we recently went through a merger. It was a very strategic decision driven by a shared vision, which is to pioneer a new era of fan experience and community engagement. So, both companies saw this opportunity to combine superpowers and kind of create a Web3 dream team, kind of like Batman and Robin, but with digital collectibles and community building. And of course, to continue to develop bespoke digital collectibles, marketplaces, and memorable fan experiences.
And right back at you, Shae. It is such an incredible experience to be working with what's amazing talent at Candy Digital, Palm NFT Studio, DC, and Warner Brothers Discovery. I'm Senior Director of Story, and my background is working with really large media and intellectual property franchises and brands, helping them develop their story worlds across platform, whether that's starting with comics or feature films. The thing that holds all of those businesses together at their core is fans. And Web3 at its core is all about creating engaged, excited communities who want to go on adventures with you, both in the experiences you're creating and in these businesses that are experimental in a lot of ways, but built off everything we've done before now to engage with fans, to figure out what audiences want, and to hear from them what's going to make it better every time. So we're really excited to dive into how we're doing that for big institutional partners like Warner Brothers Discovery and DC, and new original projects like Palm Garden.
That's awesome. So I guess to jump in, I really am curious how, especially because you guys have you have such a unique perspective on community and audience building because of the resources and the reach and kind of the scale and scope of what you guys do, right? And it's so fascinating to me. And I'm curious, how do you build a sense of community among artists and fans around these properties, right? I can imagine that with something like a DC, maybe you have the ingrained fan base that obviously know the characters, right? Mm-hmm. But they may not understand Web3. So I can there's probably some complexity there. So I would love for you guys to talk about that a bit.
Yeah.
Sure. Go ahead.
Well, first of all, direct access and behind the scenes interactions are so key. as far as building community within Web3, especially for people who have no experience in Web3. So one thing that we do, for example, for the BatCal community, as far as direct access is concerned, we give them access to DC artists and creators through Q&A events on Twitter Spaces and Discord stages. Sometimes you can even do gated events where only Batcal holders or only Harley Quinn holders are invited to certain types of events, and they can interact and with the artists and really ask questions that create a really great dynamic between the artist and the audience. Another thing we recently did just last week in person was San Diego Comic-Con. We had a signing event with Jim Lee. And that was only open to BatCat holders. So that's the kind of thing that you really want to build upon, and that really helps to invigorate the community and really grow the community. Sometimes we do behind the scenes types of events like Warner Brothers Discovery Archives Tour. The BatCal holders who were able to participate in that, they absolutely loved it. So the importance of continuously engaging with your community to understand their needs and their interests and really get their feedback is so key, just to keep iterating and innovating to ensure that both the artists and fans feel equally as valued and empowered.
And it's all about building an experience where everyone is part of it. In addition to our behind the scenes content, all of our BatCal holders are part of their own journey as characters in Gotham City, and they get to contribute to the work that's being done with big name writers and artists like Dan Abnett, Jim Lee, and Pablo M. Collar. We've had the incredible opportunity to have the BatCal holders vote on the first original DC comic on the blockchain, Batman the Legacy Cal. And this was built with all of our partners with that collaboration by design. We knew it couldn't just be another call in for one part of this idea. That's not going to play with a new audience, with a modern audience. No, the community was able to determine everything from the series title to the lettering style for different characters, designs, costumes, what characters are inside of it. And those comics coming out as DC Collectible Comics, our DC3s, has also been a great part of the events that we're running throughout the year. And when you're able to be part of the creation of a story world and then play inside of it, it's an incredible opportunity for a fan. That plus being able to talk to the creators in events and opportunities, that appeals across the board. And sure, it's easy to say that when you have DC talent and artists and Batman, but the same is true for original projects. And we're doing that now with how we're structuring Palm Garden and Inklings. We're inviting people to be part of this journey with us, but giving them the tools to create in their own creative space, in their own creative disciplines, to build a big world together.
That's actually a perfect segue, because I really do want to talk a little bit both about Palm Garden and about the BatCal collection, because starting with the BatCal collection, I don't want to underscore or tame down how innovative I think that collection is, because of how unique it is. Speaking from someone who is into pop culture, who is a fan of comic books, it is not normal for fans or collectors or consumers to be given any kind of access to anything, right? Certainly there are always special events and conventions and things like that, but this is something very unique in that, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the ability that you're giving through this venture to give the fan the tools to create titles and stories and affect the story. It's not just affecting story, it affects the actual canon, because fans take these stories very seriously, right? So they're now adding to the lore. Is that correct?
That's correct. This is a new Batman storyline. This is a new way to play in Gotham City, and for our holders, they get to play as Gotham City District Night Watch members and crew challenges that we roll out throughout the year. They get the behind the scenes access and access to new comics as they drop. And we even have a second crew that's participating in Gotham City, the Harley Quinn crew, for holders of Harley Quinn Frickin' Awesome Boxes of Mayhem. And we see them facing off with the GCDK now and in the future, for those of you paying attention at home. But this is part of the big idea, right? Like, if you're a fan, you want more. You want to be a part of this. You want to hear from the artists how they are inspired. Get inspired yourself and maybe inspire them back. This has been such an incredible opportunity to work with creators who are open to the idea of playing with the audience and including them in the creative process, and to give fans an experience unlike anything that's been put together as completely before. And we're so excited that that continues to expand and continues to provide opportunities for all of our fans to explore the DC universe in different ways and in new collectibles.
No, for sure. And switching gears, and maybe I'll direct this to Shae. So when we're talking about another project you guys have, which is Palm Garden, how does that can you tell me a little bit more about that project and how it actually contributes to that idea of community engagement?
Absolutely. Actually, I'm going to defer to Caitlin to talk about, because I wanted to talk about the mission. That's her baby.
Oh, fair enough. Fair enough.
Absolutely. Well, Palm Garden is a world. It's a totally new story world. It's a world of different experiences that we're building to show off the different ways that you can connect in Web3 projects from the very beginning. So it's a world that is the aftermath of every other creative and technology platform we've worked on before. Like, all of these ideas swirl in a chaotic mass, and they're there for all of us to play with. But the first creatures to emerge in Palm Garden, the Inklings, are the ones whose job it is to steward and develop this world. So in addition to these generative characters, and this is our first collection that we've done with the Palm Generative Art Maker, which is the first generative character creator compatible with the Unreal Engine. We have built the tools for people to create collections, and we're creating a collection that's designed to teach you how to make these collection-based experiences. So for the first month of collections, all of our holders are invited on little journeys inside Palm Garden with their Inklings that also talk about the principles and tools we're using to create these experiences, from traits and rarity to how we develop community experiences and invite people to play together, but also elements of what their smart contracts give them permission to do. And these are made with a Creative Commons by 4.0 international license, which means as long as you're attributing back to us, you can create to the limits of your imagination using these characters and what's in your collection. And we want to know more about what you're creating. So we want people to feed that back to us so we can feature it and celebrate together. We also have opportunities for people to share their ideas, problems, or challenges, or great insights they'd love to see become part of this world and be part of that process together. For an original IP like Palm Garden, this is really straightforward. For big Batman scale projects, there are a lot more people working already in different ways to explore, but Palm Garden is an opportunity to create and explore with us and be part of a community that's built around the idea of creating new projects together and finding new ways to make really exciting community activations.
Oh yeah, that's fascinating. And I also am curious, with these different initiatives that you have, how does that tie in to Candy Digital's plan to more or less revolutionize the Web3 space for artists and IP and fans? Is there, like, how does this, because it seems like, there's so many interesting tools that we have now, and there's so many innovative ways to engage a community. And I think one of the challenges that a lot of people have, a lot of projects, a lot of companies have is okay, cool, we have this whole new tool set. How do we put this together in a way that is sustainable and that works for everybody? So I would love your thoughts on this, and how Candy Digital kind of approaches this.
Well, creative experience building and these creative productions are definitely a team sport. And when it comes down to it, none of us are doing these things on our own. Even independent comic creators starting their first series, they need people who know what's going on around them and people to bounce ideas off of to make sure that that's a success, that it makes it to market, makes it to shelves. And we're the same way. We're looking for partners, we're looking for opportunities to explore and see what's working and seeing what people love and how can we build off each of those steps. So our experiences with Warner Brothers Discovery, our experiences with our other collections have given us great insight, but we also have teams of people with decades of experience on traditional platforms and with formats that have come before. And when we mix all of that together with Web3 expertise, creative expertise from film or advertising, well, then we start really bouncing big ideas off each other that we can say, yeah, this is something that we think audiences might really be jazzed by. After that, it's about listening to the audience who you're building with and providing opportunities for people to contribute, whether that's inside an experience like Batman the Legacy Cal, or it's a broader call for action. You know, people in Web3 love talking about the projects they're engaged in. They want to be a part of that conversation. And that's true for audiences all over the world right now. The younger audiences, the audiences we're actually communicating with, are looking for ways to be a part of projects that they care about. If they're not telling you what they want, they don't want it. So what it comes down to is we have to make sure our communications are complete and clear and that we're being thoughtful about what we're saying, because we want everything that we're saying to be true. And every time we're talking about a new project piece, it's going to come out as we say it will. And beyond that, we're listening to our communities, to our super fans, who are the barometer of the health of any new story world, any new project, and doing what we can to provide exciting experiences that key into what they want, but also what we know that the projects will need to make sure that they're sustainable and successful long term.
And going back to how we're revolutionizing it for artists, going back to the Palm Generative Art Maker, one thing I'd like to mention is that it's totally free.
Yeah.
To anyone. It's totally free. You don't need to know how to code. You don't need to be a super experienced artist. We basically wanted to make generative art more accessible to a broader range of creators. So now individual artists, small teams, they can create collections that may have been way too complicated or too challenging for them if they didn't already have programming or 3D art experience. It's, again, totally no code tool.
Now, I'm really curious too, and this is something, we're talking a little bit before the interview, just back and forth through email, and you mentioned something that fascinated me, and I'm very curious about it, which is your vision for what you call the multiplayer era. And I think I know what that means, but this is the first time I've heard the phrase, and I'm fascinated by it, and I'm wondering if you could dive into that topic a little bit as it relates to community and kind of building together.
Well, we've gone through these phases of communication technology development. I just watched the Beanie Bubble over the weekend, and it took me straight back as a blast in the past to when the internet was new. And when I was first getting my feet under me in the entertainment industry, social media was new. And we've gone through these phases as humans, as audiences, where we figured out how to communicate with each other, how to share our opinions, but also how to listen back. And now we're building technologies and tools that let us collaborate in real time inside these expansive creative universes that we love. So we have the tools, and now we're putting them together in ways that might be more equitable for different creators inside these systems, might grant new access, like we're working really hard to ensure is there with DC and Warner Brothers Discovery, and provide the tools to try new ways to get people excited about story worlds. For new comic creators out there, comics are some of the best new ways to create a project and get it out to audiences quickly. To be able to create a season or sequence that lets you engage and develop an audience and learn from them how they want to see the story emerge. What is going to be critical for you to show to other people who might have a business interest in helping you do the next steps, that you have a community that's going to be engaged and is going to follow you into more budgets or different types of production. And that's accessible to everyone. one of the reasons we want to make sure that these tools like the Palm Generative Art Maker we're building are really open and accessible is we want people to be building. We want more folks out there building these experiences together because it'll teach us all what kind of future we want to live in together, what kind of things we want to do together as we move ahead. And that's what everyone is looking for, from new companies and creators looking to find their audience to big institutional franchises and studios who are trying to figure out what fans are going to want next and how to make sure that they're giving them ways to engage with the stories they already love in the ways that'll make the most sense and be the most exciting for everyone.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, so I actually, so Shae, I have a marketing question for you.
Yes.
And this is coming from my own angst, I guess, with the space. So one of the interesting things about marketing in Web3 is, to your point earlier, it is very different than traditional. I guess we can call it traditional digital marketing. I guess that's a thing now. You know, and case in point, when I first started, when we launched our own project, I have a traditional quote unquote digital marketing background as well as other things. So I was like, this is fine. I'm going to hop on Facebook ads. I got my Facebook ad manager popped open. I'm going to serve some ads. We're going to build an audience. We're going to just mint out. It'll be fine. And it just bombed terribly, as you can imagine, right? like it took a while for me to realize that maybe that's not where the audience is. And it was a huge wake up call, because all of the marketing tools that I had relied on that helped me throughout business prior, all of a sudden it was like, nope, can't do that anymore. And it was a huge curveball. It was a huge learning curve, something that admittedly I'm still learning, right? I don't think any of us are masters at this side yet. So I'm curious, from your perspective, what are some of the challenges that you faced in trying to cultivate and build an engaged Web3 community? Because we have tools and we have opportunity, and I think we all know that, but I think it's a challenge across the board for most companies to kind of keep that growing and building, and that engagement is tough.
Yeah, it is. Absolutely. So first of all, using the right channels to reach your community, that's key. Social media platforms like Twitter Spaces, Discord stages that allow for real-time discussions and community building is really important, because you need to keep your finger on the pulse of the community. You need to know what their wants and their needs are. You need to respond to them. You need to openly communicate. Web3, blockchain technology, it's all based on transparency and frequent communication. So, make sure that when you do have a Discord server, make sure to hire or appoint a community manager, because a community manager who is knowledgeable, who is approachable and passionate about the project, because their role is so crucial to fostering a positive community atmosphere. Also, Caitlin and I have mentioned many times, community feedback is so important. We try to listen to what our community is asking for. Sometimes, there are delays in platform enhancements that just happen, but we just keep working at it. So if they are looking for certain features, respond to it. And again, getting feedback through Discord, Twitter, make sure to always listen. We also use tools like Meltwater to gather community sentiment. That's also really important to know what everyone's thinking, how they're feeling about different drops, different projects that you're putting out there. And then again, also education. Education is so key. It's such a new space. Everyone's new to Web3. So you always have to come in with that assumption. In order for us to be as inclusive and welcoming to everyone as possible, no matter how much or how little experience they have in the space, we want to make sure everyone's comfortable. So like an example is when we had to shift our cash out process from, just regular US regular fiat currency cash out to withdrawals via USDC, we made sure to develop easy to follow, super, helpful step-by-step guidelines and extra educational information, like what is USDC, or how to get your funds after you've left our platform. We don't just leave them at, okay, they've used our platform for whatever they needed it for. Now they're on their own. We did not do that. We took extra steps extra care to make sure to teach them and show them how to set up an account with an exchange or a non-custodial wallet. So things like that are really key and really important to constantly educate your community, make sure you're communicating with them, make sure you know what they're feeling, get their feedback and all of that. So those are super key in Web3 marketing.
Awesome. Have you, for both of you, have you also, I'm curious, as we move forward in the space, do you see kind of Web3, like 2021 Web3 NFTs, the technology was at the forefront, right? Now that we're no longer in 2021, my sense, just from being one data point in this universe, I notice from my perspective that there's a shift where now it's becoming less about, look, cool thing technology, to here's the product, here's the service, here's the project, whatever it is, supported by, like, the technology is beginning to move to the back. And I'm wondering if, from your perspective, you see this, maybe us, God, I hope, moving across that adoption curve, right? A little more beyond like the hype cycle or that super early adopter phase. I'm hopeful that with the USP, the unique selling position, kind of switching now a little bit, at least what I see, that maybe that means we're kind of moving across that. Is that what you see as well, or is something different?
It's definitely a natural part of new creative technology integration. For years, my formal credit with Big Story Worlds was transmedia producer, and the great success of the idea of telling different stories on different platforms, so the experience would each be great experiences as a game or book or movie, and that was important to your bottom line as a business. Like, the great success is that's now just media. That's how the best practice is established. And what we see with these throughout new creative technology, but definitely now in Web3, is there are a lot of early adopters of technologies. But for broader audiences, they're always going to be more excited about being able to come into an experience or that is exciting or useful to them in some way. And when that is the fore, that's when you start to see audiences scale. That's when you start to see larger adoption coming into play. And projects that have learned from what has come in those early adoption periods are going to be smartly using this to invite people who would love a great noir comic to be part of that creation or the serialized rollout of its issues, to be able to create a comic with DC, to play around inside a really cool universe. And those invitations are ones that you don't have to know the ins and outs of blockchain to want to be part of. And that's the next phase for how these big experiences will come to life, because we all see digital platforms and social networks shifting. We see the priorities and the concerns for brands and advertisers and digital marketers with loads of experience shifting as audiences and the technology around all of us, not just in Web3, are shifting. So those direct connections to your audience that you can get from collection-based experiences, the opportunity to build a strong and engaged community that you can ask questions to and get real feedback for, to test and learn what's working and what isn't early, often, and really engaged. These are unique and exciting value propositions that creators can take advantage of, businesses are going to want to use, and they're going to tell us what is successful in the next range of creative, but also business everywhere projects. Do you have a connection with your fans? Do you have communications with your audience? Or is that through someone else's system? If you need to ask questions, can you, and know that people will respond? Can you do that not just for one project, but for lots of projects? Because you're bringing this community with you as new experiences are built or things are going onto other platforms. That's going to be the next wave of how we all need to do businesses with our audiences. And these models give us the opportunity to do it from day one.
And I think also to piggyback off of that, in addition to the technological advancements and changes that we're going through, I think the role of communities are also changing the Web3 space. For example, we're going more toward, we're moving away from passive consumers to more active stakeholders. In the traditional model, consumers receive the final product passively, right? But with NFTs and Web3, community members are stakeholders with a tangible investment, either through holding a digital collectible that unlocks an experience or interacting with and engaging with other community members. So many close friendships have come out of the BatCal community, right, Caitlin?
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing how tight knit this community is, and on their own too. We're not even doing anything. It's amazing. It's incredible. I love it. And I think this significantly shifts the responsibility and the influence of the community. Also, content creation and curation, as the definition of what it means to be part of a Web3 community evolves. Community members are going to play an even more crucial and pivotal role in the development of content. For example, a few months ago, all of us at Palm NFT Studio and our partners, DC and Warner Brothers Discovery, and everyone working on the project, the BatCal community designed and minted a POAP for us. I thought it was so special and so sweet, and I was deeply touched. It was incredible. So things like that are happening and changing how Web3 acts, and I think it's incredible. I love it. And I think we're going to see more and more projects where the lines between creators and end users blur, especially with community-driven content being the main conduit. And then, of course, education and onboarding. As Web3 continues to grow in its complexity, I think communities will serve as a hub for education and onboarding. Veteran members are going to guide newcomers to help ensure that the sustained growth and health of the community continues. Because when you love a project, you want it to grow, and you want to welcome new people in, and you want to make sure that everyone's comfortable and having a good time. So,
And it gives us an opportunity to experiment with so many different ways to invite people in. We can learn from publishing, where you see lots of book series where there's an original author, but someone wants to follow this character's story and another person wants to follow another. And for authors who open up their story worlds, there's an opportunity for more publishing from more parts of the world. That's what we're doing with Inklings by making Creative Commons by 4.0 licenses. If you want to create more part of this world, you have the opportunity to. It's by design. For other projects like Broadside, people are invited to be part of a community where there are chapters of a story rolling out over time that they're going to be excited by and inspired by as that first volume rolls out. The way that we think about inviting people in varies by our personalities, our business style, and what we want from our story worlds. But the options to work together and have that openness have never been more exciting.
That's fascinating. And it's so interesting as well, because I think really what you're talking about is a new era where not only is the fandom a part of whatever product or whatever new project comes out from a creator, but you're also allowing that creator to open up. Whereas I think the best case, one of the best examples is Star Wars, where for years and years, where there weren't any movies, it was the books and the comics and all of the stuff coming downstream that kind of expanded the universe, right? Games and everything, but it was downstream. And now what you're suggesting is that the next sort of the next iteration or evolution of that is for the actual fans to be able to come in and take that creative that creative staff and say, great, I want to write my own story, and I want to create my own game, or I want to create my own insert thing here. And if the community supports it, it actually has the chance to reach a wider audience and kind of build that community together. Correct?
Absolutely. And we have seen, not just in Web3, but throughout these kind of super fandoms beforehand, people whose inspiration to be part of these story worlds they love and to create something in them have built their careers. Frank O'Connor, who runs 343 Industries and Halo, wrote about Halo. and was invited in because Bungie saw that the people with the passion for that world were the ones who ultimately would need to become custodians of it. But when we think about how we appreciate each world, and for, creative projects have hundreds, dozens, like so many people working on them in the big story world context, like a DC Comics, so many different authors and artists working simultaneously. But no matter how many people are creating, we won't ever get everyone's perspectives, everyone's lens on the world, unless we can open up that world to give everyone an opportunity with their unique vantage point. Every fan, every audience member should have the opportunity to see themselves in these worlds and be a part of it, to share what they see that others don't. That's the promise of these big, broad, and inclusive experiences. And we've started to see big shifts in what industries prioritize because we have more opportunities to share, whether that's been web video or social media or different types of platforms where more characters can get more screen time. But we'll be able to see what perspectives and insights no one expects will come to life because we're giving more people opportunities to create and explore and bring their own backgrounds, their own identities into these spaces in real time to be part of the conversation.
Excellent. So, we've talked about more and more projects, and so my final question is, can you give us some alpha, some juicy stuff? Can you share some like upcoming projects or any other things that are coming out from Candy Digital that our audience could look forward to?
We are just through our first launch of Palm Garden Inklings, and we have lots more in store there. And we just closed the voting for Chapter 3 of Batman: The Legacy Cowl, and have a lot more in store for Batman Day this year on September 16th.
And just today, we launched a new project on Palm Garden. It's called the Epiphytes Collection. It's an open edition, one rarity, and the price is only $10, but 100% of the proceeds go to the Rainforest Foundation.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. That's awesome. I love hearing that. And well, Caitlin and Shae, thank you so much. This has been fantastic. If people want to learn more, they want to follow you, they want to learn more about Candy Digital, where should we send everybody?
Well, I'm easy to find. I'm Caitlin_Burns on Twitter, and I'm the producer who looks like this. I love hearing about people's new projects and what they're working on. It makes me really happy to know what's out there in the world, and it's fun. So I hope to hear from some of you. Shae, where should people be going to learn about our projects?
For our projects, they can go to @PalmNFT, or you can find us on Discord, Candy Digital. And you can also, if you're interested in Bat Cowls or DC NFT, you can go to @BatCowls Twitter handle, as well as @DC NFT official, and then DC NFTs on Discord.
If you want to learn more about Inklings or pick up your own epiphyte, again, 100% of that purchase goes to the Rainforest Foundation. You can go to palm.garden and check it out today. And if you want to know more about DC, the NFT.DC universe was where you can find more information on Bat Cowls, DC Collectible Comics, Harley Quinn Crew, and the Frickin' Awesome Box of Mayhem. And we cannot wait to see you there.
Oh, and
Excellent.
my Twitter handle is Shae_Biron.
Excellent. Caitlin and Shae, thank you both so much. This has been fantastic. And for everybody watching, thank you so much for joining us. Stay tuned. There's more to come right after this, so stick around. And until then, we will see you in the next video. Take care.